Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, if you do enjoy the video that you came here to watch, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that little red subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. It really does help my audience grow. It really does help this channel grow. It means more than you realize. So go ahead, hit that little red button. Also, remember, full episodes of the Aaron Torres podcast, wherever you download your podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. Now, here is the video that you came here for. Now let's go ahead and talk about another one with just maybe the wildest game in a wild day of college football. Texas A&M, they play Arkansas in Jerry World, Southwest Classic, in a game that just defied explanation. Texas A&M survives by the skin of their teeth. Final score 23-21, thanks to two absolutely insane plays that both went Texas A&M's way. And so coming out of the game, and this is what I want to talk about now, there's a lot of people that are asking, did Texas A&M actually win this game, or did Arkansas actually lose this game? I see both sides. I want to give you my opinion, and I do think it's going to be a little bit surprising. Now, obviously, look, everyone knows we have a lot of Arkansas fans that listen to this show. Woo pig suey, big pig invasion. We know how it goes. And if an Arkansas fan is listening saying, A&M didn't beat us, we lost that game, I can't really disagree with you from your perspective, from the perspective of an Arkansas fan. You look at that game, Arkansas goes up 14-0 early, moving the ball at will, doing what Arkansas does, running the ball right at Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, like basically very few teams over the last 2 years of college football, really didn't have many answers for Arkansas. Arkansas is up 14-0 after the first quarter. And then about midway through the second quarter, Arkansas is up 14-7 when the first of those two absolutely crazy plays happened. We all know what it was, but for people who did not watch, let's just share it really quick. KJ Jefferson, Arkansas is very reliable, very trustworthy. I think he's right up there with Hendon Hooker, we're going to talk about next segment, as one of the most underrated and underappreciated players in college football. KJ Jefferson, after driving Arkansas down the field, they're on the 3-yard line. He's a big, physical, tough runner himself. All he's got to do is hold on the ball, punch it in. Arkansas goes up 21-7. He jumps over the pile, tries to punch it in, and right as he is diving in, the ball gets knocked out from KJ Jefferson, and not only is there no touchdown, but A&M then picks it up and returns it thanks to not one but two players. One handed it off to the other. 85, 90 yards, whatever it ended up being, to score a touchdown. So Arkansas driving in, 3-yard line, jump, try to punch it in, gets knocked out. A&M returns it 90 whatever yards the other way. And so that's the first crazy play. Arkansas would have gone up 21-7. Instead, it becomes a 14-13 game because Texas A&M, for I don't know why, I was busy hosting radio, I must have missed it, but they decided to go for two. After that, and when I say I was hosting radio, I missed that specific play. I was obviously watching the game, otherwise I would not be talking about it. But after that, the game is kind of back and forth. A&M is down 14-13, but by mid to late second quarter into the third quarter, they start to take control of the game. They're up 23-14. Arkansas then regains control. They cut it to 23-21. And then if you've watched SportsCenter, been on social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, you know what happened from there. Texas A&M, they miss a field goal, give the ball back to Arkansas. Arkansas gets themselves in field goal range. It is worth noting the Arkansas kicker, who obviously won this game last year, he lines up for about a, what would it have been, a 40-something yard field goal, drops back, kick is up, kick has the length, kick has the distance, kick has the height, and it goes off the top of the upright. Literally, listen, I'm sure it's happened before. I've been watching football for about 30 years now. I have never seen a kick go up over the upright, hit the top of the upright, fall the other direction, only that is exactly what happened. Arkansas was down 23-21 at the time. Had that kick been good, they would have taken the lead with just a few minutes left and essentially won that game. Instead, the clock runs to zeros and Texas A&M wins 23-21. And if you watch the game and if you look at the box score, it's hard not to argue that Arkansas lost the game more than Texas A&M won it. Arkansas had more total yards, they had more passing yards, they had more rushing yards, they completed a higher percentage of third downs, and Arkansas lost the game. I think most Arkansas fans certainly feel that they lost they lost the game more than A&M won it, and I'm sure maybe some A&M fans feel the same way as well. I, however, feel a little bit different. I actually want to go ahead and give credit to A&M for winning this game, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to make me really unpopular in 13 SEC cities that all hate Texas A&M. I'm not saying we should forgive Texas A&M for the App State loss. I'm not saying that Texas A&M is back. I'm not saying that they have all the answers. But what I am saying, over the last 2 weeks, and specifically on Saturday night at Jerry World, I do think we are starting to see the bare bones skeleton of what Texas A&M we thought they could be in the preseason and what they could still be, which is a 9-10 win team this season. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying Texas A&M has figured everything out. What I am saying is I have seen something from Texas A&M that makes me believe that they could potentially reach the potential and expectation of this year. And to go back to the whole, like, did Arkansas lose the game? Did A&M win it debate? Let me just say this. Yes, Arkansas had 2 crucial plays go against them that cost them points. But let's also not just dismiss the fact that A&M was really good defensively after the first quarter. I went back and looked it up. Okay, so first of all, those first 2 drives, yes, Arkansas had all the answers, right? That's what a good coaching staff does. You script the first few series on offense, you should have success. And Arkansas, to its credit, did. 147 yards, 2 of the first 3 possessions, score touchdowns. They're up 14-0. Yet over the rest of the game, Texas A&M also has some highly paid defensive coaches as well, and they held Arkansas to 268 yards over the final 3 quarters. And so if you look at the game, it really is a tale of 2 stories. To say that Arkansas lost it is a little bit disingenuous because basically 40% of their offense came in the first quarter, and after that, Texas A&M did a good job. I looked it up. After the KJ Jefferson fumble on the 3-yard line, Texas A&M forced 3 straight punts before Arkansas was finally able to get the ball moving again. So to me, one, when I look at Texas A&M and I talk about not only what happened Saturday night in Dallas, in Arlington, but what could happen going forward, I think that defense finally stepped up in a way that we were all hoping. Against a really good Arkansas run defense. I'm not saying they stopped them because nobody stops that Arkansas run offense. But against that Arkansas run offense, which is top 10 in the country, Texas A&M actually did a pretty admirable job, certainly better than Cincinnati and South Carolina did later in the year. And so why I'm sort of intrigued by Texas A&M. Good job on defense against a very good run offense. But then on top of that, I got to say this. I do think they're starting to figure it out on offense as well. Now, I'm not saying they're there yet. And I'm not saying, I'm not throwing rose petals at Max Johnson's feet. And I know that a lot of people would say, oh, Max Johnson, he only threw for 151 yards against the worst secondary in college football. Okay. Yes, Arkansas has given up a lot of yards through the air. And yeah, in a perfect world, you want your quarterback to throw for 300 yards like Bobby Petrino's quarterback did 2-3 weeks ago, right? At the same time, here's the other thing. Everybody focuses on Arkansas having the worst secondary in college football or the worst pass defense in college football. They also have a great pass rush and came into this weekend leading college football in sacks. And so why I am impressed by Max Johnson, it's not always the plays that you make, but it is the plays that you do not make and the mistakes that you do not make. And this is why I like this guy for Texas A&M's offense. I'm not saying he's Bryce Young. I'm not saying he's C.J. Stroud. I'm not saying he's Caleb Williams. But at the same time, not every team needs every quarterback to be the future first-round pick. At some point, in some teams, they just need their quarterbacks to be competent, reliable, trustworthy, and that's who Max Johnson has been. In 2 games, Max Johnson has not been elite, but 2 touchdowns and, more importantly, no interceptions. Haynes King, against much inferior competition, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, could not move the ball. And so Max Johnson, simply by taking care of the ball, he is just good enough of an athlete where he can move. He's got some wiggle. He had 39 yards rushing. It does change this offense. And I'm not saying they're Ohio State overnight, but at the same time, look at what we saw on Saturday. The quarterback play is trustworthy, which you know what that does? It keeps defenses honest and it opened up the run game. This is the incredible thing to me in looking back at Texas A&M over their 4 games this year. They have a dynamic, world-class sprinter at running back named Devon Achane, okay? This kid is like 4.2 speed. And with Max Johnson in the games at quarterback, he's been a completely different player. You know why? Because Max Johnson keeps defenses honest, because you have to account for him. Because if you don't, he is going to beat you with his arm and he's not going to turn the ball over. Well, look at Achane's stats since the season began. 18 carries, 42 yards against Sam Houston. Not good. 66 yards against App State. Not good. You think as the schedule got tougher against Miami, against Arkansas, against Arkansas, you'd think that the stats will go down. They've gone up. 88 yards against Miami, 159 yards, 8.5 yards per carry against Arkansas. Don't tell me Arkansas's front isn't good. They've been dominant early in the year. And so as I look at Texas A&M, I'm not saying they get there, but what I am saying is coming into this year, what did I tell you? I talk to people in Aggie Land every week. I go on TexAgs Radio. And the one thing that everybody seemed to tell me was pretty straightforward. They said, look, we cannot bottom out this year, but we're really built for 2023. We have a lot of really young, talented players. We got to figure out the quarterback position. And the goal is just don't completely fall apart. So the goal is to go 9-3, 10-2, win the games you're supposed to. And if you lose to Bama, if you lose to whoever, that's one thing. Now, you don't want to lose to App State. But at the same time, most Texas A&M fans understood this really wasn't the year. It was really next year. The one thing that you could not have, however, was a complete meltdown, was complete disaster, which then leads to all the chaos that we know leads to in modern college football. Potential transfers, all those 5 stars decide to go somewhere else. And so why I like what I see from Texas A&M is they're starting to steady the ship and they're starting to build back to where hopefully they should be. Now, again, you should have beat App State, so you're 4-0. You don't have to worry about this, but it already happened. And to Texas A&M's credit, they are starting to figure it out. Now, what I would say before we get to the Tennessee-Florida game, what I do think is important, I think as weird as it sounds, you can argue that next Saturday against Mississippi State in Starkville is the most important game of Texas A&M's schedule this year. Because the following week they play Alabama. They're not beating Alabama. If you lose to Mississippi State, though, you're now starting the season 3-3 because you're not beating Alabama, which means you're going into a bye 3-3. And all of a sudden, the rest of the schedule looks pretty tough, right? Still got Ole Miss. I think LSU appears to be improved. Auburn, we'll see what happens with them. We'll get to them in a second. Florida, up and down. So you lose to Mississippi State. Now you're looking at realistically probably at best 8-4. And I don't know that that's going to keep people happy. But you beat Mississippi State. Now you probably have confidence. You get LSU at home. You get Florida at home. You get Ole Miss at home. You do have to go to Auburn, but Auburn might not have a coach by then. Now, all of a sudden, you have confidence. We beat Mississippi State on the road. We're probably pretty confident in every game that's not Alabama going into this year. And by the way, I think A&M is going to be confident. I guess I'm just saying I'm not confident that they win it. So what I would say is I don't want to keep going. You got the point. Credit to Texas A&M. And listen, credit to Arkansas. They played a good football game. 2 plays did not go their way. I still like Arkansas going forward. I think they're going to give Alabama a little bit of trouble this weekend. But I don't want to completely dismiss what Texas A&M did this weekend as well. We're going to find out a lot in the coming weeks, but I thought this was a major step in the right direction, even if statistically it maybe doesn't look like it.